Good morning, my friends. I had researched something I had watched over the weekend, and so I decided to venture out and check and see exactly how this actually works. It was brought up that we are paying more for the convenience than we are paying for the ingredients. So it kind of hit home with me a little bit. So I decided to go to the grocery stores. I did some checking around, and I found that to be absolutely true. So y'all, being the homesteader that I am, I have always been the type of person who has done homemade. Today's video is going to help you be able to prepare for that. I believe in homemade food because, first of all, it's healthier. I know what's in it, and it is more economically friendly. However, I also understand, and please know this before I go any further on this video, I'm not telling everybody to be like me. This is for those who want to be able to know what to do. We are basically about 2.5 months away from starting our pantry challenge for the entire winter. So I don't have a whole lot of time. This is who we are. This is what I do. But I also know that there are many others who like to be able to know, what can I do to get us through a winter? Because frankly, y'all, from what I'm seeing, I have this gut. It's hard to describe. I've never been able to describe this feeling, but I have a very good gut feeling. Winter is going to be hard. So I am going to start a list with y'all. So I am going to fix up my coffee. I've got my pen and my paper. I'm going to give you a chance to get your pens and papers. And for those of you who really want to know what you can put on your pantry for this winter, I'm going to give you a runabout basic list that should help you and to describe why I am choosing these particular items. So get your pen and paper, and we have some talking to do this morning. All right, my family. We got our coffee because it's going to be a good one. All right. So based by everything that I was seeing at the grocery store this weekend, I went through pricing bread, prepared meals, canned soups, and things like this. So this is basically things that are convenient. The convenience in life and the availabilities on top of what it cost versus homemade products. Now, I will tell you, there are items that is inevitable. No matter what we do, it's going to be high, and those are going to rank between produce and meat. There is nothing we can do about it unless you're like us, fortunately, to grow your own. And yes, we do our own meat too. So, and we are fortunate. We already have our turkey. We have a tom. Well, we had some toms, way too many, and so we have one for Thanksgiving. So I did some looking around, and I started making a list. Now, for your homemade breads, even the cheapest, and honestly, the ingredients in these, folks, when you are buying the convenience of a loaf of bread, even a Walmart Great Value brand, you are going to get so many preservatives and you cannot pronounce food or whatever that is in your product, where if you do this, and I'm going to give you this list right now, so hope your paper and pens are ready, because we're going to start with the bread sources, the basic needs to make a simple loaf of bread. It does not have to be fancy. Now, unless you're like ones who like the whole grains and the seeds and all that, now that can get different and it can get interesting. And yes, you can absolutely buy all the products that go into it. It's not really that hard, but it can get costly. So I'm talking just basics right now for those, and I've had a lot of y'all. By the way, before I go any further, God bless you. and I sincerely mean this, y'all. God bless you. I've had the opportunity, honestly, my last video that I put up, there are, Lord, y'all, over 2,000 viewers on that video. Many of you, almost 100 comments were made, and a lot of you were saying how you are on pensions, or you are retired, or you are struggling, and I get it. Y'all, I'm not rich by far. We do a lot of cutting so that we can do our living, but we chose to do that. We chose this homesteading lifestyle. But there are many who are just, what they make isn't enough. So I totally get that. Because of you, we have reached well over 2,600 subscribers. And I couldn't be more thankful, because it is because of you that I keep going on YouTube. So I thank you for that. And I know that I am not perfect. I don't have all the answers. I just know what's working for us. And I know what I could do to reach out to help as much as I possibly can. This is not perfect. Now, when I do this, I am going to try to do for both everyday lifestyle, Mediterranean as well, and low carb. These ingredients that I'm going to give you can pertain to both sides and what you're going to need just in the basics of things. So I will specify each category for you. This will probably be a lengthy video, but honestly, y'all, this is, I think, it's been put on my heart that needs to be said so people can know what to do before winter hits. There was, and I found that out this morning, and so I honestly prayed, Lord, what am I supposed to do now? I mean, what would be my next video? And after witnessing what I saw this morning with a bill that was passed for more spending we can't afford, y'all, I think it's time that we do something serious, and at least, if anything else, get you through. I mean, what's the worst case scenario? Nothing actually happened, but you had a chance to get through a really hard winter, a cold winter maybe. So, I mean, it's always better to be prepared even mildly than nothing at all. That's just the way I feel. So let's get started. We're going to start with the bread sources. Now, there are a lot of very simple bread recipes out there. Your basics on your recipes for this would consist of flour sources. This could be all-purpose flour, bread flour, or whole wheat flour. It doesn't have to get any fancier than that. Those three will be a good supplement to put on your table and make a beautiful loaf of bread. Now, with that though, you can also use it for breading if you wanted to bread some of your meat or whatever. So there's multiple purposes for this. I would suggest, if you do that, get a couple 5-pound bags, or if you can find a deal for a little bit bigger, go that way. But find your sources, find your cheapest route, and find the way that you can be able to do this to at least get you through maybe a month or two. So that is one source. Now, for the low carb folks, you are not without your sources as well. Now, the most convenient sources and the easiest sources to obtain, basically, you can obtain them anywheres, but the most realistic is almond flour and coconut flour. Now, there are many recipes online using vital wheat gluten, oat fiber, lupin flour, egg white powder. Now, granted, you can obtain these if you're able to afford them and have them on hand. You can do so, and you will basically find these on Amazon. Those are not really readily available in a grocery store. Almond flour and coconut flour are. So you can work with these. Two other items you would need would be xanthan gum or arrowroot. These are your binders, ingredients, or your thickeners. So that would pertain to low carb and then also regular and Mediterranean. The other ingredients you would want would be yeast. Now, although there has been yeast also used in low carb, yeast is one of those things that is something I would keep always. And then with that, you would have to feed your yeast, so therefore it would be sugar and honey. And yes, even in the low carb world, we have used sugar and honey to feed the yeast. So it's only a fraction and it doesn't go in your system. The yeast will eat it up. So sugar and honey is something to use for making bread sources in both categories. So those are what I would get as a basic round: sugar, honey, yeast, xanthan gum or arrowroot, coconut flour, almond flour, whole wheat, all-purpose, and bread flours. These are your basics for making a loaf of bread. Now that's the basics, and I've done some recipes for you folks who are low carb. Another resource which does multiple things, and this is totally up to you. It's not super cheap, but it is something that you can do. It is one of those products, I will tell you, it's readily available, and the last time I've priced it, which actually I could price it again right now for you, I don't mind doing that, and that's the reason why I have a second resource so I can work with you. Hang on, let me silence this. We're going to look up Carb Quick. Now, it's not one of the, what do you call, best thing in the world, but I will tell you it is something that is something you can work with. Okay, so a box of 32-ounce Carb Quick has gone up, basically. And this is what we were talking about, the convenience of foods. So it has gone up from a little over $10 to now $12.38 a box. So unfortunately, y'all, that has gone up, but it's something you can choose to do if you wanted to. So I would get a couple boxes, if anything else, just to have, just in case, if you wanted flapjacks, pancakes, if you wanted to make biscuits, if you wanted to make cinnamon rolls. Carb Quick is one of those products you can do this with, but again, it's one of those convenient foods you will pay for. So just keep that in mind. A couple other things I would do now in the Mediterranean world, we do a lot, or we use a lot of olive oil. Some use coconut oil, some use avocado oil. Now in the avocado oil, or not avocado, but olive oil, sorry. I use extra virgin olive oil, and Partana so far has been a very good quality olive oil. It's about $11.96 a bottle. So it is kind of affordable, but there are many others. So choose what you feel is right for you. I will say, now I'm going to go ahead and check on another price for you. Ghee is another good product to have, but let's look at economically friendly here on something and see price wise. Okay, hang on. Okay, yes. Now I'm going to simply tell you, I'm going to give you an alternative, because ghee, most generally, from what I'm seeing right here, Lord, y'all. So, a beneficial blends is $8.12. Great value. Seriously, great value. $8.28. And I'll guarantee you these are not organic either. This one isn't organic. It's from Carrington Farms. $11.98. Okay, y'all. I've seen enough to tell you. Hold on a second. I'm so sorry. So I've seen enough to tell you the convenience of buying ghee versus homemade. Now, granted, butter is expensive too. But Honestly, if you bought unsalted butter, you could actually get ghee as well and not pay half as much as what you're buying at the store. Not only that, when you use real butter, unsalted butter, you've got a pure product. It is one without all the preservatives in it as well. So you can choose this one as much as you want. For me, before I pay these prices, I'm going to make it homemade. To me, it tastes better. I know what's in it, and I don't have to worry about shelf stability products that go inside of this that I don't need. So that's another one I would do. Another source that you can do, if you can get a hold of an actual meat market, or they call them fresh market, slaughterhouse, whatever, where you can get meat, where they sell pigs and cattle, a farmer, anyone who does markets like this, fresh markets like these, you can ask them for pork fat. Now, the reason I would do pork fat is because I tend to find that buying pork fat is relatively cheap, and I can render it down into homemade lard. Now, I do store my lard in my refrigerator. However, it will last me an entire winter. I don't particularly use it for large amounts in a deep fryer. But it is something that if I wanted to fry up maybe some chicken or whatever, instead of buying a lard from the store that has cottonseed oil mixed in it, and y'all, I'm going to tell you, you're not going to get pure ingredients if you buy it from the store. I don't care what brand it is. You're still going to have that cottonseed or soybean oil or vegetable oil or anything like that. Rendering your own will come out healthier for you. It's really simple to do. All you need is pig fat and a crock pot. And it will take an entire day to do this, but it's well worth it in the end. Now, as far as a simple, I have found avocado oil and extra virgin olive oil. Coconut oil, maybe not the same. Ghee has a high smoke point. So that was something you can do with. Lard definitely has a very high smoke point. But when it comes to avocado oil and olive oil, they do not. So you can't technically fry in them. If there were an oil that I would use for basically frying to a crisp, like making homemade potato chips, I would choose either lard, homemade, or if I had to choose, the Ugly Battles vegetable oil would be my choice. Peanut oil maybe, but it's not something I use every day. I know there's inflammatories and all that in it, but it's not a product I would use every day to make my body in a harsh way immediately. So, I mean, if you were going to use it occasionally, vegetable oil would be one. You can buy one or two extra and put it on your shelf. So that would cover your oil sections. These are the basics even into baking, y'all. So if you could, I guess, go ahead. That's another convenience, though, cake flour to make your own. But you don't necessarily need absolutely cake flour, because honestly, you can bake a cake using all-purpose flour. You want to be able to keep your seasonings. Now, that would consist of vanilla, even basic seasonings, oregano, Italian seasoning, salt, pepper, basil, let's see, a few others would be, I don't know, something that you all happen to like, garlic powder, garlic, onion powder. You want to be able to find seasonings. Now, you can find seasonings pretty cheap in a lot of places still. Some places have gone stupid high and drove me nuts, but it depends on what you buy. Another product that I would put up on my shelf for the convenience of things would be cornmeal. that would go in with your flour sources and such. So cornmeal is something I would keep as a basic on my pantry shelf. Beverages, your simples, coffee, tea, and cocoa. Coffee, y'all, I have a feeling is fixing to go up higher. It keeps rising. Tea is moderately affordable right now. Go ahead and get your tea if you happen to love tea in the wintertime, and absolutely do cocoa. Now, there is an alternative here, and this is something that will work with cocoa. If you did not want to pay the price, which would make sense, of having that convenient package of cocoa mix, you can absolutely make your own. And that would consist also of you being able to put powdered sugar with your convenience of your bakery items. So sugar and powdered sugar and brown sugar, y'all. I'm going to give you a quick recipe as well. Here's some things you can do in a pinch. So let me get back to cocoa and then I'll get back to that one. But your cocoa, if you got unsweetened chocolate, like Hershey's baking chocolate, you can make your own cocoa. A lot of you already know this, but there are lots of recipes online of making your own cocoa, hot cocoa mix. So to stop the convenience of the pricing of that, make your own and get some of that dry cocoa powder mix, or just the Hershey's chocolate baking chocolate is what I'm talking about. And then you can add your own sugar. Powdered milk is another one that I would invest in as well, because powdered milk, and there is a powdered buttermilk. I would actually do those. Now the powdered buttermilk, though, after it is open, it does need to be refrigerated or frozen. So, but I would have those because you can absolutely make your homemade cream of soups out of this. Cocoa mixes, there is many things. You can also use it for making your biscuits. So if you didn't get buttermilk, you can actually use the powdered buttermilk, and make your own. So these are something to think about. That's not telling you run out the store and grab it right now. These are items I'm giving you that can be alternatives in a pinch. Now talk about alternative in a pinch. If you find, especially around the holidays, that powdered sugar or even brown sugar start to rise, because it is a convenience, believe this or not, there is a way you can make your own homemade. And I have tried this myself, and it absolutely works. You can make homemade brown sugar. And what I would do, or what I had done, was I have to get the right ratio, but all you would need to make homemade brown sugar is regular granulated sugar and molasses. Mix the two together, and that's it. You have brown sugar. It's as simple as that. Powdered sugar is as simple as taking granulated sugar and using a food processor or a blender, breaking it down. I use a grinder, coffee grinder for mine, and I will grind it down. The granulated sugar grinds down right into powdered sugar, and that's it. You have powdered sugar, and I didn't have to pay the convenience. If I had a 25-pound of granulated sugar, I could do a lot with that, including making my own homemade powdered sugar. And I did not have to pay for that convenient charges. So that's just a thought in a pinch. That's a homestead way of thinking. A couple other things you might want to consider, maybe some evaporated milk or some sweetened condensed milk, if you are those that can have that. Now, for those who are diabetic, your sweeteners, Aldi so far has the most reasonable prices for sweeteners. It is not the monk fruit brands and all that, I will tell you, but in a pinch, it will work. So, it is harder for those who are diabetic, but it's not impossible, y'all. I am able to do what I do for my husband, And even if it's temporary while we wait out the storm, I call it, I will do what I have to do to get by. Now, as far as making homemade brown sugar and that for us, basically we have to pay for the convenience. Unfortunately, y'all, we have to. So look for your better deals. Now, I will say if it's either in the grocery store or online in Amazon, find your better deals. You're going to have to shop around because we are going to have to pay for those conveniences. The same thing with sugar-free condiments, like ketchup and syrup, things like this. We're just going to have to pay for that, y'all. So I wish I could help more on this part, but all I could say again, just shop around. What I did and how I was able to get the prices for Walmart is I downloaded the Walmart app. I use it to scan my food because we are getting scammed here. We're getting our pockets stole from, basically, because what we find on the tags on the store is not the price we're paying at the register. So I started using Walmart's app to scan the food items and find out what I'm really going to pay for. And if I'm paying more, I will usually put it now back on the shelf. So the Walmart app will give you the chance to check online what the prices are so that you can compare and shop around without actually having to go to the store. So that's a way of being able to compare your differences. Now here is another, for those of you with children, you are going to have school coming out and everything. So oatmeal is an amazing product to put on your shelf for various reasons. You can have a good wholesome breakfast. You could use it in bread making. You can also use it for making your cookies and such. Now, there is a way, if you wanted, if you're like those folks who love those instant oatmeal packages. Now, this is amazing, and most people didn't understand this or maybe didn't know this, but again, with those pre-packaged, already done meals, you've got preservatives and things you don't want. Where if you were just to get a package or a container of quick oats or old-fashioned oats, either one will work. It's pretty much a simple product. It is oats. But there is a way you can turn those oats into an instant meal and get the same flavors that you are getting. Only thing is, you have to make it yourself. It's not a 5-second meal, pour hot water from the microwave and there you go. It's a better, safer way for your family though. So you can tend to get or make your own dehydrated fruit. Your apples, your strawberries, your blueberries, and things like this. You can reconstitute these fruit if you want to. You can already get it pre-packaged and pre-made, dehydrated, although you will pay for the convenience of that. You can also do that. You can add your own brown sugar, cinnamon, and all of this and make your own instant meals out of them, or instant cereals. So do your research on what is more convenient for you. And I will say, basically, if you have blessed to have a dehydrator, I would probably do my own dehydrated fruit, store them up on my pantry, be able to have that oatmeal. And if it were me as the homesteader, I think that I could do my own instant oatmeal sources. So that's just me. These are just ideas that I'm putting out there for many of you. Now, we will talk about vegetables. Vegetables are an amazing product to put on any pantry, and there are multiple sources of being able to do that. Now, one, you can home canned, but if you are not one who does that, there is also freezing methods. Now, there is a thing called texture issue between the two. I absolutely get that. But these are alternative ways to be able to have these on your shelves. Now, for many of you, this is one area that canned, already done, canned, put on your shelf will absolutely work as well. So you can use the canned vegetables. My thought to you is choose the ones that will work with you better for your family. So give me 1 minute and I will be back with you. Sorry about that, y'all. We definitely have two different worlds going on in this household. Things I don't understand. But anyways, back to what we were doing here. So vegetables. I had already stated that you can very much get, as long as you're getting your vegetables of whatever kind, go based by what your family enjoys, not just anything. Because honestly, you want stuff on your pantry that you're going to use, not something that's going to sit. And I say this out of experience because when I first started canning, I wanted to can everything and anything, and a lot of stuff, sadly, there was a lot of waste. My family never touched it, which is consisting of me and my husband. It was never touched, barely used. It was not something we enjoyed. So pick and choose what is best that your family enjoys when it comes to your vegetables. Now, buying your own and canning were two methods that I mentioned. Another method was frozen that I mentioned. But there is another source, and that's dehydrating. Now, I will let you know, when it comes to higher priced produce, I understand that this is absolutely, it is rough with high prices, but I do like my fresh. The other alternative that you can do as far as dehydrating, though, and I find it very relatively cheap, and I'll be honest, when it comes to 98 cents for a package of frozen cauliflower versus a head of cauliflower that is nearly $3, I'm going to choose the frozen method. And that's what I use for us. And I could tend to put that in the freezer and I will stock with it. Now, for those of you who like your carrots, your corn, your green beans, did you know that you can dehydrate those frozen vegetables and then put them on your shelf? And that is an absolute yes. I have taken mixed vegetables that consisted of corn, green beans, and carrots, some with even onions. I brought them home from the freezer stage, put them on my dehydrator, and I had absolutely dehydrated them and put them in a jar on my shelf. It kept my freezer space empty. I could throw these dehydrated vegetables in any soup or stew. I could constitute it in hot water. So those absolutely work. So that is a way of keeping space out of your freezer, and you can absolutely dehydrate these as well and be able to have your fruit or your vegetables and your fruit if that is the case too. So soups. Now here is some other methods. When you are using chicken with bones, or even a turkey that's coming up, save your bones. Many people will toss them out, but they don't know that there is still vitamins and minerals and a lot of uses out of those bones. There is still some meat on these bones. There is still bone marrow within these bones, and they make a beautiful stock. So save those bones and make your own stock where you can make broth for whatever thing you may need for like your own chicken noodle soup. You can use it to make your own maybe bisques or whatever, gravies. Stock is an amazing soup to have. It is inexpensive if you already have beef bones or chicken bones, turkey bones. Save those bones and make a big old roasting pan or crock pot full of broth, y'all. So that is something, and then you can can this or freeze it as well. It's amazing to be able to do that. You can also be able to, like I showed you, dehydrate your own potatoes and make your own au gratin powdered mixes, and I gave you the recipe on how to do that as well. Staying away from the convenience that labeled bioengineered ingredients and being able to make your own without all those preservatives or any bioengineered anything in your products, because you know what's in it and it's fresh. It is homemade, done by you, and you didn't pay for the convenience that it was made for you. So these are just options, y'all. A couple snacks. Popcorn is a low-fat snack. Now, I will tell you, my husband, even though he is diabetic and he does have to have low carb, I'm not sure why, but popcorn is one of those snacks that he can in moderation. He can eat popcorn. So popcorn is a snack to have on hand. To have almond flour, coconut flour and stuff, you can make your own cookies and things like this as well, y'all. Make sure you have some cinnamon, nutmeg, and all that on hand, along with your seasonings and stuff. But there's many things that you can do. So, and I've seen that. Pinterest is a really good place to find amazing low-carb recipes at. Ooh. So, I have tend to go there and I find quite a few things. I will also get some peanuts. Regular unsalted peanuts. Throw those container of peanuts in a food processor. Don't add anything. Just throw that container of peanuts in that food processor. Chop it down, pulse it, break up those peanuts, and then on high, let that thing whirl. It will heat the blades up enough to create the oils to come out of those peanuts and make your own unsweetened, for a diabetic, peanut butter. That is something you can have with celery. It's amazing. I have done it, and I will tell you what I spent. Now, at the time, peanuts for me were $1.98 for one of those tall containers. They're a little over $2 now. But when I go to price peanut butter versus peanut, I am going to pay less for that peanut than I'm going to pay for the convenience of having that peanut butter for me. And when I read those ingredients, 95% of the time it's going to have a hidden sugar, where my peanut is one item. It's a peanut. So I'm going to come home, make my own peanut butter, and y'all, I can add my own sweetener, and voila. I spent $2 and something cents for peanut butter versus the $5 or $6, and not knowing half the ingredients that's in it, and the other half of it is hidden ingredients that's going to hurt my husband. So choose. I have bought some of that peanut butter made for a diabetic, and the oil in it, technically very much unnecessary oil, floating at the top of that peanut butter made me sick. So I find that making my own and not having to pay for the convenience, I'm coming out better. This is exactly what I'm learning right now, y'all. As I look at these prices, we are paying high rates for the convenience. Now, pasta is another one you could put on your shelf, although it is not made for a diabetic. I understand that, y'all. This is a hard world, but nothing is impossible, and I'm going to give you alternatives for that. Pasta is still a relatively inexpensive product to put on your shelf. I very much would. If you're not one to make homemade, shop around. You can still get pasta. Don't buy these convenient boxes of mixes, y'all. Just, oh Lord, this is where I come into play with my family. In the situation that we have now with two families, I don't understand things, but it's not me. They do what they do, I do what I do. So pasta is one that I would absolutely put on my shelf. Now, for those of you who are diabetic, there is sources that you can do as well, and I believe I mentioned this, but maybe not to the extent. I have squash. Now, this is an acorn squash. Carnival squash, acorn squash, spaghetti squash. Now, spaghetti squash is absolutely amazing to use for pasta noodles. If you want spaghetti and meatballs or anything like that, or maybe a shrimp Alfredo, chicken Alfredo, spaghetti squash is an amazing product to use as a substitute for pasta. And I have used it a lot. My husband absolutely loves it. And the other aspect about it, now I'm not sure so much about store-bought. I'm just learning this one. I do know for a fact if you had homegrown squash like these, they can last up to 6 months. Store-bought, I'm not sure. I have bought a couple extra. I don't know how long they're going to last, to be honest with you. Because of the process that they do, I've noticed. Avocados, for instance, we're going to use that as an example. Avocados are rock hard when you buy them. You leave them on the counter in hopes that they will soften up. But what I've learned was they absolutely will soften up. However, within time of that softening, you cut it open, it's already black. So I don't know. Me and my husband bought some acorn squash, but we don't know the shelf stability from a store-bought, y'all. Now, if this was something we homegrown, I know for a fact this would last 4 months at least. My spaghetti squash last year, I was blessed by a farmer who brought me a load, at least a dozen spaghetti squash, which I was so blessed for. That spaghetti squash lasted us 5 months and nothing rotted. It was properly cured and it absolutely lasted us for 5 months. So that is an option. You can literally put these in a cool room in the wintertime, dark room, cool, and they will last you for several months, providing that it's fresh. I, again, will state, I bought some. I don't know how long these will last because of the process that they do for stores. So I'm going to try this. We currently have 2 spaghetti squash that I purchased. I put in my pantry. We'll see what happens. But that's something new to me. So these are something you can do. And even for anybody who's not diabetic, squash, butternut. I did butternut squash last year as well. So butternut, spaghetti squash, acorn squash, carnival squash, anything like that will last you a few months in a cool, dark room. So that is another option if you choose to do so. And again, it's a great pasta resource for those who are diabetic. You can make your own cream of soups. You can change your ingredients in this, and I will probably future videos ahead of time doing the fact that when we start our pantry challenge, I will show you how to make your own cream ofs. This tonight, I will show you some meals that you can use for a diabetic or Mediterranean low carb, however you want to choose this. How you can make a pleasant meal out of a simple ingredient. Now this one will be used to make both of us a nice sausage stuffed acorn squash, and you could serve a side salad if you wanted to. So I will be making a video on how to make this beautiful acorn squash meal tonight. So I am really hoping that these pantry lists of ingredients will help you. Another one, now this can be used for diabetics, again, moderately, y'all. But they say that beans is one of those carbohydrates that break down slowly. They do not and will not spike you because they do break down. They break down over time. It's not like sugar and goes straight to your bloodstream. So it is resources like these that you can try. Not everybody is the same when it comes to this. I do know that my husband, he can occasionally eat his pinto beans. He can eat black beans at times, but he eats a small amount. So he doesn't eat nothing major. So pinto beans, black beans, cannelli beans, lentils. Lentils are an amazing pea bean that you can put on your shelf. Rice, for some of you that can have rice, and those who are diabetic, there is, I mentioned before, in Louisiana, American made. It's called Parish, Parish, rice from Louisiana. You can get that online on Amazon. Check it out. And I believe Parish Company makes it, and you can order straight from them. The last time we bought Parish rice, I think it was about a pound of it. It was a little over $6. So I'm not sure what it is now. For those of you who are Mediterranean, wild rice or quinoa is another good one, or even couscous. These are some items you can put on your shelf as well. So I'm looking at my resources and figuring out what you can do for yourselves. Navy beans is another one you can put on your shelf. These are perfectly dried ingredients that will last you an entire winter and fill you up as well. So, and the nutrients in it, fibers, everything that you need is amazing, and great protein in a pinch, because it may come to a point that meat can get too expensive. Now, I am grateful again that I have meat sources, but not everybody has that. Now, I have poultry, but I don't have pork, and I don't have beef. So I have my own areas as well. So, but I do have areas for protein either way it goes. So these are just some things to put on your shelf inexpensively. And the best thing I could tell you is, when I started researching what was said, convenience versus homemade, y'all, this is why I'm not going to advocate or drill down you, or I'm not going to preach at you. You have to do this. You do not have to do me. But in the sense of it, this is the greatest way I can explain to you why I do homemade everything as much as I possibly can. I do some convenience. I'm not going to tell you I do everything. I do some convenience, and there are some things I will honestly tell you that if I can't afford it, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to wait. Oh, yes, I have to tell you this one. Do you remember when we did those potatoes, and I did the dehydrated ones, and I told you I was waiting out the storm when 10 pounds of potatoes were like $12 or $10? Do you remember that one? Well, we are now about a month and a half, maybe a month from that video, and I will tell you what our prices are. They're normal. 10-pound bag of potatoes that I looked at yesterday from Walmart have dropped from $10 down to a little over $5, the way they used to be. A 5-pound bag of potatoes that were $5 to $6 are now down to $3. Y'all, wait out that storm. Don't fall for those jacked up rates. It's not necessary. So I waited. Now's a great time. If you are one who likes to put your pantry full of potatoes, dark, cool place, y'all. Put them in there, dehydrate them if you have to. So, or you can even can them. So now's a good time. Look around, get your potatoes. So, I mean, these are sources. If you can your own, put them on a shelf. You can have potatoes all winter long. Put them on your shelf like I did, and I've got half-gallon jars I showed you of dehydrated potatoes. So I have my resources, y'all, and then you can have your fresh. So shop around. Watch your prices conveniently. But the reason I do homemade is 2 reasons. 1, economically, it makes sense. Yes, I have ingredients. I have to get this ingredient and that ingredient. But those ingredients will take me further than just one item. Versus the fact of buying convenience, one item, one-time use, full of preservatives, bioengineered, and it's gone right after that. When I could go back to my flour and think, wow, you know, I just used so many cups of flour and I could still get this much out of it. I mean, and a lot of these items, such as your bread sources, you can make more than one and freeze them. This way you don't have to keep doing this every single day. It's something that you can conveniently make in your kitchen on a weekend when you have time. Put them in your freezer. When you run out of one, pull it out. You're feeding your family. Y'all, this is going to save you so much more money. It's going to take you further as far as being able to survive when the prices could possibly, I really have a gut feeling they could possibly get a little more than what they are now, y'all. And with this new bill that passed, I don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to have to look out for each other. And this is my way of looking out for you. So these are the resources that I'm going to give you the best of my ability, and I'm hoping they help. For those who are low carb and diabetic, I know fresh is better, but there's still resources. You can still use canned vegetables. There is, so much you can still do. You can use your cheese, just like I said. Basically, here's what I'm going to tell you as far as cheese sources. Many of you will find this. Your pre-sliced cheeses versus your block cheeses. Your comparisons are do the block, grade your own. You are paying for the convenience and then coated cheese in those packages that are already done for you versus the block of cheese. It does not have that coating on it, and you can literally freeze it if you wanted to. I have done blocks of cheese we found on sale. For instance, we got 1 pound blocks. I don't know why it was like that. We saw it, we grabbed them. They were $1.50 a piece. Now that was a deal and a half. We came home with about 4 of them. We put the rest of them in the freezer. They were perfectly fine. We graded it. Everything was absolutely fine once it was defrosted. So you can freeze cheese. Find a deal if you can. Grade your own cheese and then freeze it. It's simple as that. And it will save you the extra expense for somebody who have done it for you. Coat it with a preservative, and you're going to save yourself all that headache. I'm really hoping this helped you. I'm really hoping I am helping you. I have done a lot of recipes for low carbers, and it is still absolutely, I'm working with my husband this winter. So there are still so many things. When my final pantry is coming up in about a month and a half, I will show you everything that we have for a diabetic and how I'm going to feed my husband this winter. But for a lot of things, he's able to eat what I'm eating, and so can you. You can do these vegetables. You can do your beans and stuff like this as well. And like I said, not everybody's the same. There are diabetics that can eat more than my husband can. There are some who can actually have a potato where he can't. However, another one for those of you who are on low carb, 2 other products that I would put on my shelf. One is pork skins, because pork skins is a source where you can use in place of breadcrumbs. I have shown that to you. Stock up on pork skins. They're relatively inexpensive, and if you can find some deals, even though this is not the greatest product to use, it comes out better than using fresh on this case, because the freshness has too much moisture to make a coating or a breading out of. So you're going to have to try to find you a way of getting dried, shelf-stable Parmesan cheese. These 2, it's a binder for your coating and your breading. Just like I make for my husband when I make fried green tomatoes, I use his basic breadcrumb coating by using pork skins, seasonings, and dried Parmesan cheese. So make sure those are on your pantry for making your own coating or breadcrumbs. So hopefully that one helped you too, because it has changed. It's been a game changer for us when I found that out for him. And then I'll make a big batch of it and put it in my freezer. Almond flour, pork skins, some garlic, salt, pepper maybe, or no, not salt, because there's enough in the Parmesan, but almond flour, pork skins, Parmesan cheese and seasoning. That's all you need to make that breading, and you can freeze it and make a big lump sum of it. So until I think of anything else, y'all, this is the basic list that I would start. If those of you who are wanting to do your pantry right now, not sure what you do, I'm hoping I gave you a fantastic list to start with. I do understand that this is a long video. I want to apologize, but I don't, because I do believe that many want to know what can I do and really don't know. There are many who just starting to do their pantries like this because they see what's coming. They see maybe what's happening now and it's affecting them, and they don't know what really to do. I am going to spend that time to teach anybody, or even share, not just teach, but share what I can do, what I'm doing, what helps me through every winter. I have been doing a pantry challenge for 3 years, and I have made it, y'all, 5 to 6 months without any major grocery shopping. When I say major, that excludes where I have to still buy at the store, but I will cut my costs by hundreds of dollars, because there's emergency sources which I don't have. Fortunate on my homestead, which is dairy. I have to buy my cheese and my milk sources and my butter. So there are items that I do have to do. There are certain meat products that I do have to do. So, but I cut my costs because I have prepared 95% of my basics ahead of time, from spring all the way to the end of fall, and then I just stop. And for months, I think last year we saved almost we did this for 4 to 5 months, so we saved anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 in groceries. That was a huge chunk, and that was due to price rises. Before that, we saved anywhere from $8,000 to $1,000. That's a lot of money, y'all. So it's possible, and it can be done, especially for those who are on low income. Shop around. Try your Aldi's if you can. Go to your convenience stores that are maybe not name brand. Y'all, it doesn't matter anymore. Honestly, there is some things I will say, yes, I agree with you. Some things we're stuck with. It's the name brand means everything because of the flavor balance, but for the most part, I'm finding that the quality is all the same. So I love my Aldi. What I love about Aldi too is their prices are higher than they used to be. They're still more affordable, and a lot of things are organic. To a diabetic and Mediterranean, Aldi is the all-American store. It is amazing for these categories, y'all. The meat, the sausages, and the bacons. I don't know if you know this, but they don't rank in sugar in the nitrates that they're using. My husband can absolutely enjoy sausage from Aldi and his bacon from Aldi because it doesn't have hidden sugar hidden in nitrates in those products. So we absolutely, and when you go to Walmart and their sausage ranks about $4 or $5 for a roll, Aldi's has it for $2.29, and it doesn't have that hidden sugar. So that's a no-brainer for me. Anyways, y'all, I'm hoping that this video has helped you. I'm hoping that you have got your list. It gives you a big bite, gives you some ideas. It helps look at your pantry, go through the things you need. I'm hoping if you were struggling, you now have a fantastic resource to go by and start filling, y'all. Even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just for a month, test it out, see if it works for you. Try homemade for 1 month and see if it doesn't improve your health. So, until next time, I love you all dearly. I am entirely grateful for you for helping us grow and getting out there for so many. Y'all, every time I open up my YouTube and I get to speak to you and interact with you. It is amazing because I have so many friends from around the world. It's amazing to meet each and every one of you. I enjoy you. I love you. And I thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing and hitting that like button every time. Y'all, you help keep me going, and I love you for that. So until next time, much love from Parton's Heritage Homestead.